ATHENA is funded by the National Science Foundation and aims to institutionalize evidence-based interventions and best practices to promote equity and advancement for all faculty, in particular women and other minorities who are still severely underrepresented and still lag in promotions and opportunities for recruitment, advancement, and recognition in the STEM disciplines. While we cannot dig into all the reasons in this short video, let's take a step together today to explore the science behind implicit or unconscious bias, how it impacts our judgments and decisions, and what we can do about it in our daily practices. Implicit bias is a hidden mind bug that silently shapes the way we perceive and navigate the world. Dr. Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel laureate psychologist and economist, notable for his work on the psychology of judgment and decision-making, was one of the first scientists to investigate the evidence for a two-system model of thinking in our brain, a model that would later be confirmed by neuroscientists studying how our brain functions. System 1 is fast, automatic, and intuitive, influencing our quick snap judgments and emotional responses that typically happen at a very fast pace. System 2, on the other hand, is slower, deliberative, and logical, enabling us to reason about and solve complex problems. Close your eyes and picture our ancestors in those dark caves. Survival meant distinguishing between friend and foe. That ancient instinct of us versus them still has remnants lingering in our brains today, influencing the lens through which we see the world and act. Think about those times you instantly connected with someone familiar while you felt a bit cautious around someone new. It's in our neuronal circuits and DNA, and today we're unraveling its impact. Fast forward to our complex world. That us versus them mentality persists in intricate social structures. Our brains categorize on autopilot, leaving us with biases that shape our perceptions and actions, often without us realizing it. Drawing from Kahneman's insights, we see how System 1 operates swiftly, relying on biases and heuristics to make rapid judgments. This can lead to implicit biases, influencing our perceptions and behaviors in subtle ways. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. Consider the subtle biases we carry based on media and news portrayals or societal stereotypes that shaped our ancestral and traditional views of the role and the characteristics of people from different ethnicities, religions, ages, or genders. How do these shape our interactions? Let's dive into that. Implicit bias is our brain's superhero cape. It swoops in to make split-second decisions, drawing on past experiences and learned associations. It's our survival toolkit in a fast-paced world. Kahneman's insights into judgment and decision-making under uncertainty remind us that implicit biases play a crucial role in how we navigate uncertain situations, allowing us to make quick judgments based on limited information, and especially when facing deadlines. Neuroscience tells us that our brains get bombarded with a whopping 11 million bits of information every second. But here's the catch. Our conscious mind can only handle a tiny fraction of that, just 40 to 50 bits per second. So, while our conscious mind is busy focusing on what it's told to, our unconscious mind takes care of the rest, making about 95% of our daily decisions. To deal with this information overload, our brains often take shortcuts or brain bugs, which can sometimes lead to unconscious biases. Biases aren't villains. They're part of our human evolution and survival story. But acknowledging them is the first step. It's about recognizing when our biases may contribute to harm or inequality, and then deciding to change that narrative. Our fast cognitive processes can sometimes cause us to make biased judgments or see things in a certain way without realizing it. Can bias affect our behavior and decisions? That means that biases do have an impact on real-world outcomes. For instance, gender biases persist in various realms of science, as highlighted by studies published in reputable journals like the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. For instance, Nasraoui found that university science professors, regardless of their gender, showed a bias favoring applicants with male names for a laboratory manager position, even when their resumes were identical. Similar experiments confirmed gender bias in how recommendation letters are written and perceived. Similarly, Knobloch-Westerwick observed that graduate students tend to evaluate conference abstracts more positively when attributed to male authors, even when abstracts were identical, especially in male-dominated scientific fields. Sadly, these biases often operate unconsciously, even among scientists and academics who prioritize fairness and objectivity. Moreover, research in the journal Nature reveals disparities in citation rates, with articles authored by women receiving fewer citations than those by men. Other research found that women receive less credit whenever they co-author articles with men. Additionally, studies found gender gaps in grant funding stemming from women being evaluated less favorably as principal investigators, rather than differences in proposal quality. The fact that women are far less likely to be invited to speak at conferences, or to leadership, or to collaborate is also still common in STEM disciplines. In summary, these findings underscore the widespread presence of gender biases in science, emphasizing the critical need for action. Whether through training, blind review processes, or systemic reforms in recruitment and evaluation for tenure and promotion, prioritizing fairness and equity in scientific evaluation is imperative. Drawing from all these insights, we understand how these biases can have far-reaching consequences, perpetuating systemic inequalities and reinforcing discriminatory practices. Let's pause and reflect on your own experiences. When did you notice patterns of bias, and what steps can you take to challenge and unlearn them? Now that we are aware, we can take a step forward and acknowledge our biases, and then take action. Kahneman's work reminds us that by engaging our analytical system too, we can actively challenge our biases and take tangible actions to mitigate our biases. We can start by fostering self-reflection and slowing down our decision-making processes to ensure we're not influenced by unconscious prejudices. Implementing structured processes, such as evaluation rubrics and discussions, can help counteract bias, while standing up against bias when we witness it is essential for effecting change. Kahneman's insights encourage us to engage our slower, analytical system too, to challenge our biases actively. By consciously reflecting on our thought processes, we can uncover and address implicit biases that may otherwise go unnoticed. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. Think about a recent search committee candidate interview or resume. Did your brain lean towards candidates who felt familiar, even if you consciously aimed for objectivity? A prime example of bias mitigation in action is found within the ATHENA Stride Handbook. This comprehensive toolkit provides practical tools like the Top 10 Best Practices checklist and rubrics, particularly highlighted in Part 2 of the Stride Training Workshop, where we study practical strategies you can take to handle various biases during decision-making in the evaluation of candidates. Funded by the National Science Foundation, ATHENA thrives with the support of dedicated colleagues and advocates like you. Thank you for joining us today, and remember to take advantage of the wealth of evidence-based resources developed by ATHENA to promote faculty success and inclusion. In addition to Stride, education and awareness, and new data capture processes, ATHENA developed a comprehensive faculty mentoring program ranging from the 5-star near-peer mentoring circles for all faculty ranks and genders to the team-based mentoring program for all new STEM faculty. Contact ATHENA or check our website for more information.